Game 2 then. What do Newbee need to do? Change it up, mess around?
Yeah, I think we've seen increasingly across different teams that this Omni first pick is starting to lose a lot of steam. It was so strong, I would say, even a month or a couple of weeks ago, but teams are really finding a way to deal with it. I still think that, again, if they deal more with Yang's hero pool, they can force VG.J into a style that they don't want to be playing, as we saw TNC did yesterday. That might be their best approach. And for the Chen, I mean, they kind of went for an all-in. I'm not sure if they'll try something like that again, but I'm sure they have other preparations up their sleeves as well.
I feel like the Disruptor as well as the Brewmaster team fight pickups of VG.J Thunder ended up showing so much strength in this first game that the consideration of the Omni Knight, like whether or not we're going to pick up that Omni Knight, I think revolves heavily around whether or not they can deal with this Brewmaster because it is such a good counter and such a good team fight hero. It's tough to see Newbee in a position where they don't have the better big team fight spells, and as a result, they end up falling pretty flat there in game 1.
Do you think they might also want to steal the Luna back? Obviously, they saw great success in their previous game using it themselves.
Yeah, possibly, especially since the Gyrocopter just kind of went under the radar entirely. He actually was last banned, but I think in so many of our other games, we saw it even today, being in the first one, too. Easily, they could have been picked up on either side in the 3-4 area. So we've talked about how that battle and how that matchup happens between those two cores, so I anticipate it to continue here in game 2.
Here we go then, with draft number 2 of the game. Newbee on the rack. Need to win this one to get back into the game and the series for a shot at the grand final.
Yeah, even though they just won game 1, the position that Chen put them in, the pressure that he was able to apply is something that I guess Thunder doesn't want to deal with again, because if it's a different composition with that kind of start, all the tier 2s down by, the first 2 tier 2s down by 10 minutes, and they're hitting Roshan and they have the Aegis before 12. That is not a situation that you want to play from if you're Thunder.
Yeah, even though Siler played it correctly, it's uncomfortable to be forced to leave your lane by like 5 minutes or something because of the fact that this Chen just gives you this immense diving power in the offensive lane.
There's the Elder Titan. I would expect Disruptor to come off the board here, and if that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if Newbee just answered with Sand King Witch Doctor. Yeah.
Why are you set on Witch Doctor so much? It is one of the more pick supports here, but...
Actually, I guess they wouldn't have to take it immediately if that's the 5 pickup from Thunder, but a hero that offers a lot of team fight is good against some of these tanky offlaners that Thunder likes to run so much. Again, the Maledict gives you a lot of value, and then once again shores up the team fight as well, and it's also a hero that is among Fate's better heroes as well.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Disruptor for VG.J Thunder, as they did for pick 1 in game 1.
They could also go with, well, the DP is banned as well as Chen, but they could also go with Sand King AA if they're worried about a bit of extra sustain. But again, the Death Prophet's off the board, so they may not need to get that combo.
Yeah, Bane as well, so Ancient Apparition probably feels a lot less. I'd be okay with the...
Well. Did you see that in the booth? ROTK celebrated that.
Ooh,
when that gyro came up, he celebrated. Literally thumped both fists.
They picked the Brewmaster into the Disruptor, which is kind of interesting because you can't really play that blink clap into the ultimate because the quick reaction of the AoE silence can definitely stop that animation of you trying to go into your ultimate. But Newbee are just like, they're done with having VG.J Thunder have the better team fight from that game 1, and they're going to secure it here in this opening pick. There is no doubt at 25 minutes who has the better team fight.
Yeah, maybe Luna gets bullied a little bit here, but there's a Terror Blade left in the pool. There's still the Medusa. I'm not sure if you'd pick maybe the Medusa this early, but Thunder have a lot of options now to deal with. And then usually when you see DDC get this Disruptor, it frees up the 4 position to be more of a vision type of hero, because then you have some of the playmaking taken up by DDC and team fight responsibility. So for a hero like Night Stalker, we saw the Bounty Hunter last game, that frees up Fade's pool a little bit.
Yeah, it does, yeah. I mean, I saw him, cheer. It was kind of a cheer, but it could have also been out of anger.
The Lycan.
They left the Siler special and the Wolf King himself.
They did, and they're going to be able to get the Lycan against the Gyrocopter, which I feel like is an excellent replacement to the Lifestealer that we've been talking about now. He's been picked up against the Gyrocopter too often. This hero is able to go max movement speed, just run at the Gyrocopter, and lay in a lot of physical damage and kind of threaten him. So we'll see. It's still susceptible to the potential aggro lane aggression. The Brewmaster is a bit of a pest for him in the laning phase. But as you said, Siler hero, can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, he'll really need to get help in the lane or have to avoid it a little bit. I mean, they can potentially send this hero mid as well, depending on what the opponent is. But it's mainly a matter of comfort here for VG.J Thunder. Again, when Sylar is playing this hero, he just feels so comfortable in leading the team. We talked about the kind of tank commander, him and Yang alternating in that role. When he has that Lycan, it just feels so comfortable for them. I mean, when he's strong, he can dictate when they take objectives. And it's very hard for these other teams to match up to recently, as they've gone on this great run, especially with him getting Lycan.
I wonder if they're going to take out the Bounty Hunter again, and that combination that worked with the Disruptor, and maybe VG.J Thunder in that will be able to get like an Earth Spirit or something for themselves.
10 seconds remaining.
I was going to ask you, Cap, how important is it when you play a hero that you play against another hero that you've also played a lot? How important is that knowledge? For instance, Sylar has played more Gyrocopter than anything else. Lycan's his second most popular. But then playing it, he kind of understands how it works, right?
Yeah,
strengths and weaknesses.
You understand the timings of the hero. I think that's the all-important thing, is that certain heroes reach certain timings, whether it's levels, whether it's certain items picked up, or maybe it's just a certain time marker in the game where gyrocopters are just good at this point in time. Understanding that and being able to craft a way of either controlling your aggression and trying to stay away from those team fights, or being able to, if you feel very strong, go in for those and try and use that advantage that you feel you have. It is quite important, and always a big thing to be able to judge how these team fights are going to be able to play out.
There's still the Sand King
Yeah,
out there.
they've left it in there, haven't they?
You also learn the lane matchups, which is really important. I mean, you can't always get an ideal matchup, especially if you're the first core pick. You can sometimes expect to have a rougher matchup. But can you still play against those and get the farm that you need? And that's one of those details that players will have to flesh out very quickly at the professional level. So if he's up against the Brewmaster, if that ends up being the lane, it can be done well if he plays the matchup, which he most certainly has. And so whether that's getting wolves early on, which you see a lot of Lycans do, to help him keep up with the last hits, he's going to know how to handle that because he's so familiar with the hero.
Underlord still not banned by Newbee against VG.J Thunder. They opted for the Tidehunter, which makes sense. It's still the other best team fight hero out there. But we have seen Yang pick this one up against the Gyro as well as with the Gyrocopter.
Dire team pick.
Ooh, that's an anti-Lycan hero. That's a support that fell off really hard a few months back, but it is quite good versus Lycan.
Yeah, good at holding your objectives, good at just outright stopping him from running at you, or punishing even allies for that. It's probably a faith hero here, so keeping their playmaker still a little bit up their sleeve, but yeah, solid pick here, I agree with you.
Yeah, it protects, like the Lycan goes in, tries to put this physical damage on one hero, you've got the freeze to be able to save that hero, then you've got the Winter's Curse to be able to turn the Lycan's Wolves and Necronomicons against himself. No real surprise for the Earth Spirit against a Brewmaster. I think it's always a valid pickup here, and Fade, probably his most played hero. Not recently, but overall.
That Winter Wyvern pickup, by the way, is very interesting because Newbee have played it 6 times in the last 4 months and they've lost all 6.
And the Sand King to follow up the Winter's Curse, and in general, just a great Kaka hero. Also, I think it's one of the better heroes to match up against Earth Spirit in some ways because you've got this one-to-one challenge. Earth Spirit can't really outdo the Sand King in DPS a lot of times.
10 seconds.
One of the things he is going to be able to take advantage of is Wyvern is not the most mobile hero, and Kaka tends to spend some time farming for his crucial items in the Sand King. So it could be a bit greedy in a sense, and so the Earth Spirit is going to be able to roam and punish that. And there's the Omni Knight left in the pool. Picking up now feels a little bit different than just getting that very early on in the draft.
Yeah, and it's going to be a nice counter to the Winter's Curse potentially with the Guardian Angel.
There's also no room for the Rubik now either.
10 seconds remaining. Dire team back.
Yeah, certainly not. Now we just kind of need that hard carry on either side, or the slight
switch.
difference would be like sort of a faster tempo controlling carry where they're just going to play a run at you game. For example, Viper is not banned.
And they can also switch that Gyro, which they've done before. It's a Mugi hero after all, so
5 seconds remaining.
they can be flexible a little bit there, can't they?
Yeah, certainly. Whether it's like a hard carry in their safe lane or a hard carry in their mid, I think Newbee can work around either way. They're actually a little bit afraid of the harder carry being on VG.J Thunder with the OD being banned. OD Omni is a classic combination known as one of the most cancerous duos in pubs.
With the OD and Tide banned out, they can go for one of these melee cores that others have a harder time laning. I think Juggernaut is a possibility for Newbee.
I'd actually be okay with, oh yeah.
Like you said, they could also run this gyrocopter in the safe lane instead, depending on what they see here.
Run some sort of like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to put all your hopes on just the gyrocopter carry. So any of those faster heroes that I was thinking about, like Quap and Puck, I don't think they quite fit in for Newbee's lineup. DK as well.
Dire team
One of the few options. Viper is the one removed.
Yeah, I think that's quite smart. And turn the
And
SF
they'll go back
again.
to the SF, yeah. That looks almost a scarier lineup this time around than it did last time, doesn't it?
Yeah, and in turn I would actually be, since the Viper is taken out, I'd be okay with the DK for Newbee.
Yeah, a direct challenge to kind of the mid pool here, and then as well the Wyvern save. If you save someone from Lycan, you can very easily just be setting them up for the SF instead. I like that Thunder, like you said earlier, has moved a bit away from some of these greedier lineups that we've seen early on.
Yeah.
The principles remain the same, you know, with the tempo from the fighting carry usually from Sylar, and then the frontliner from Yang. But their choice of who the mid hero is again tilted a bit towards more SF instead of away from the Medusas and other big carry types that they've run. I feel that's a bit slow and it can be exploited, and so that's worked out really well for them. Yeah,
just like the way Secret have been trying to employ those faster lineups. Newbee could actually pick one of the slowest heroes in the game, but Adusa. You definitely feel like VG.J Thunder want to be able to get this kind of disruptive Lycan pick online, be able to contest some of the early team fights, go for the split pushing, and just create space for SF. Once he comes online against many of these heroes, he could focus down Brewlings. He's a nice physical damage dealer to challenge the Gyrocopter once he has BKB. And he's always got an Omni to back him up. So it feels hard to be able to challenge the late game against VG.J Thunder. That's why the DK would be my choice for the early game, and just being able to give you a high ground hero and take these objectives, very important. We saw how Templar Assassin fared last game, so I'm not feeling too confident about that.
So they go back to the TA.
Apparently they're confident about it.
Even though Cap just made a point that it wasn't particularly great.
You know what? I'm kind of okay with that, because
that's the quickest backtrack I've heard all day.
No, it's like this. It's like you know, I'm not going to agree with the hero necessarily, just because it failed in the last game, but they chose confidence that they are going to make the adjustments from game 1 to game 2 and how to be able to. And after all, they did have a pretty big lead in that early game. They cleaned up their play. They definitely would have closed that out by like 30 minutes.
Okay, Jack, which way do we go this time? VG.J had a great draft. Game 1. They've had a better draft this time round, haven't they?
Yeah, I think Newbee's a bit more well-rounded, but I think the matchup to watch out for is Fade versus Kaka, who can get more done, especially roaming in that mid lane. But VG.J played very well last game. They kept their composure, so I'm going to have to pick him for game 2.
Okay, VG.J Thunder for Jack.
I'm going to stick in my belief in Newbee. I guess I just trust them that they're going to pick up this Templar Assassin, make the adjustments. I agree with Jack, and the 4-position matchup kind of favoring the Sand King there. And I think the biggest thing is Newbee secured themselves better team fight, and that is what Newbee's all about. So.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Time to head over to your commentators as we get ready for game number 2. VG.J Thunder on the verge of making it through to the final. Just Newbee in the way.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm Zyori, he's Trent, and we are back once again for game number 2, another DDC disruptor.
They're feeling good out there.
What are you thinking here, Trent? They sure are.
These are two of the cockiest mid laners that exist, right? Shadow Fiend, Templar Assassin. You need confidence to play these heroes. Is their confidence shattered? That's the question.
Indeed. What are you thinking about these drafts, my man? Who do you favor?
I'm more on the Cap side than the Jack side, to be honest. I feel like Newbee should be able to find that momentum, that rhythm. Don't make those mistakes going high ground. Game should go better. So let's get right into it. as the lanes begin.
No time to delay. So we're going to see the prized Lycan as well. We've talked a lot about this hero, and it'll be VG.J that grab it. You were thinking maybe Newbee would be the ones to play some Lycan this series.
No, you're quite wrong. That's definitely a Sylar hero. Yeah, I was hoping for the Night Stalker too, but of course we didn't get him. He got banned out, as you'd expect. If they can't get the two together, it's unlikely that you're going to find him in that next phase, the picks there. So quick pause while things get worked out here, but we're okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
Looking forward to a Fade Earth Spirit here, though. Played obviously exceptionally well last game on the Bounty Hunter. Probably the one who decided that comeback. Other than the wraparound, the Courier Snipes were the biggest moment after that game.
I'm excited to see Faith on the Winter Wyvern. I think it's definitely a go-to hero against Lycan. All of those summons, you can return damage very, very quickly, but sometimes easier said than done to find that key Winter's Curse. Not a hero we've seen a lot of this tournament either.
Yeah, when Lycan was at his complete prime, probably around Genting, I would say, in terms of EG running it for Fear over and over, that was when the hero seemed to have finally reached that potential of just oh my god, how do you deal with it? We saw a lot of these Winter Wyverns, and many of them were not very successful. Lycans played around it very well. They would just send the Lycan one way and the army the other way, and oftentimes you'd be forced to just curse like a Necro Creep or something. So certainly a good counter, but it does come down to that idea of just kind of playing into those perfect moments. But it's also decent against big BKB right-clickers like Shadow Fiend too. So it's not a one-trick pony this game.
Yeah, and even though there is a lot of pushing power on the side of VG.J Thunder, Newbee do have some really good high ground defense heroes. Gyrocopter, Winter Wyvern, Sand King, even Brewmaster, really good in those tight corridors and when you have that high ground advantage. So we'll see what happens as the creeps spawn. Initial bounties have come out, and Newbee actually did grab all 4 of the bounty runes, Trent. Not too often that you see that.
Not too worried about the pressure. Couldn't quite judge where they were going, so very nice start for them, and we'll get a little bit of 2v2 action in the mid lane.
Yeah.
Earth Spirit really nowhere else to go here.
Yep, and Faith reacts right away to keep his TA safe, knows that she will not be able to win that 2v1 with an Earth Spirit in the lane, so it's a smart rotation. Up top, KP with a creep pull. We've seen this maneuver many a times, but will definitely benefit this offlane Brewmaster. One of the offlaners that can definitely struggle a little bit, doesn't always play the best from behind, so this will get him off to an okay start.
Yeah, DDC's playing it correctly, though. He knows that Faith has rotated into the mid lane, so he just wants to play up on this Brewmaster, share the experience, try and get some denies, and just generally harass him around.
Yep, and all the while, that means it'll be a 2v1 in the bottom lane against this Omni Knight. That's Yang's Omni Knight here. A hero that can usually handle this kind of pressure. He has gone for Repel level 1, not something you see Omnis forced into that often, but in this lane, definitely feels like a requirement.
Yeah, when he repels, it has to be almost perfectly timed too, right? Because he's trying to deal with the missile and then as well as the burrow strike, so still a very risky business for him as the roll does come in mid.
Yeah, roll on the SCCC. Just a little bit of harassment from Fade, and now he'll have to TP home as Faith comes the other way. A little bit close, but does TP home just fine.
Top lane, KP just has to come back to the wave now as the creeps have escaped his little trap in between the towers.
All things considered, though, quite good for the Gyrocopter. He's the leading farmer right now. Omni Knight not really able to pressure down this carry we've come to know so well. I love that question from Slacks earlier. Are you tired of playing Gyrocopter yet? Because we've seen this hero, I think he's still most picked of the tournament.
It's okay, though. Everyone's mixing up, right? We got Newbee just picking up a little bit of Luna in some of their games. You got VG.J Thunder grabbing some Luna. You know, we're all over the place here. So they're not fully locked in to the Gyro meta.
Support starting to move around now. DDC has left this mid lane, or the Earth Spirit, I'm sorry, has left the mid lane. That's opened up for Faith now to head up top and try and support KP's Brewmaster. Down bottom, some pressure onto Kaka. But that's it, no kill.
Now, not a lot of action in this game, right? I mean, TA just wants to farm stacks. Ancients, do her thing,
but look
stay
at the last
mid.
hit chart. That's a lot of green floating towards the top. All 3 cores of Newbee leading the CS chart.
Yeah, some slight edges. I mean, KP, he had the wave in between the towers, so that's going to help kind of inflate his offlane status compared to most. That'll start to fall back down as the levels get up here on Sylar and DDC, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. If I was VG.J Thunder, I think they'll be able to zone him out soon enough. But, I mean, it's the same thing for Freeze in terms of, what SCCC is going to do. Freeze is going to do the same thing. He just nukes the wave, goes to the neutrals, so Someone needs to rotate onto these guys and decide that matchup.
Yeah, down bottom, they go for the initiation onto Yang. He's got a level 2 purification after that, and still has the repel even. Very tough kill to find, and Fade was just waiting in the tree line, able to counter-initiate, and does a surprising amount of return damage. Now Kaka's the one that needs to be a little careful. The Sand King is out of regen, and now the roll forward. They're actually going to catch him. He does not have a Burrow Strike, and Yang will draw the first blood with a level 2 purification on top of his Earth Spirit. Nice draw there.
Yeah, really greedy to stick around there because he was trying to hope to set up a first blood, I'm sure, onto Yang using the Rocket Barrage, and then maybe he was thinking he might even get that salve there from Moogie or something if he was a little lucky, you know. My core helped me out. I get you a kill. Maybe he'll give me some of your regen, but was not the case. And first blood heading over VG.J's way.
Very valuable rune in the bottom position. It's a double damage. It looks like Earth Spirit will be the one to grab it. However, it gets scouted out by Kaka, so unlikely he'll be able to catch anybody by surprise. Kaka instead will settle for a bounty rune, perhaps, as he dodges the roll. Not going to be able to grab it.
Another win for old VG.J then, it seems.
Yeah, pretty quiet laning phase. Looks like Lycan will probably go for Helm of the Dominator, first item. I guess we've seen it quite a few times, but just adding one more creep to the arsenal.
Yeah, there's a couple people who are likely to get obliterated by this, namely Fade, honestly.
Oh, Moogie down bottom. That double damage on Fade, still with a little bit of duration. A nice stun from Kaka, and then body blocks to boot. It keeps Moogie alive. Also stick charges on the gyro, so not a huge threat for a kill. It's still starting to pressure the safe lane carry of Newbee as Yang gets a little more presence in the lane. Yeah,
a bit worrisome here, though. I mean, he is relatively low. Moogie, 2 points in the Rocket Barrage. Got to be careful. It kind of keeps Fade down here too, right? He's not rotating mid or anything because he just wants to make sure he can save his Omni Knight if they go on him.
Now Kaka, Yang is out of mana. He's got a couple of stick charges. He just used his purification. Moogie low on mana himself, but stick charges are there. Rocket Barrage doing a lot of damage. They may just settle for the Earth Spirit, and indeed they do. That ties it up 1-1, and all the while up top, DDC will actually fall to the Faith KP combo.
Ooh. Well, I mean, on the one hand, bottom, it's like, okay, yeah, Fade made the save on the core. He kind of knew that gank was coming eventually anyway, so nicely done. But then giving away DDC top, those in tandem, certainly hurting the situation here. And more space to KP, help him get to level 6 as early as possible. And then it's kind of a race, right? It's like if the Helm comes out, you can just get an instant kill with level 6 on Sylar. And then KP, he might also be able to get just an instant level 6 kill onto pretty much any other hero up here.
Yeah, generally speaking, KP's got to be pretty happy with this laning phase even before that kill came out. He is getting a lot of experience and even getting pretty good farm, only 5 CS behind the mid laner of Shadow Fiend, who's also been getting pretty decent farm himself. So with Brewmaster, once that level 6 comes out, you can start rotating around, and that opens up your team to start finding some team fights perhaps. A big rotation mid from VG.J Thunder, with both supports coming to support Freeze.
Yeah, nice deep ward there from the Radiant, scouting out these rotations from the Dire supports. And if DDC was paying attention, though, I believe the illusion just gave it away, though, so I might know that ward is there.
Yeah, I saw that kinetic field come out also. Very quiet laning stage, though. Feels so much different than last game. At this point, there were already 2 or 3 towers destroyed by Newbee, taking a much different approach here in Game 2.
Yeah, they don't have that same speed either, which is a little bit worrisome as a TA draft, right? Like, last game looked like the perfect TA game. Like, how do you lose that game, honestly? They're so far ahead. Every tower is gone. The only way you lose it is, well, you make the mistake, you know? And so now this time, they're not going to be able to enable SCCC nearly as much. And going to have to rely way more on stacks instead of tower gold.
Another initiation onto Yang, but there's the counter from DDC and Fade. They roll in onto Kaka. Yang getting very low, but the repel enough to save him. The auto attacks are there, and Moogie catches him. They get a double as Winter Wyvern rotates in. Somehow Kaka survived through all of that, and all of a sudden this gyrocopter is top of the net worth chart and feeling good.
No answer left for the Sandstorm. So nice early pickup there from Kaka. Seen a couple 2-0-2s this tournament. Kaka very happy he didn't go for that build.
Yeah.
Sylar, level 6 up top. So he's pretty much the only one safe from this ultimate of KP, but you know, some support hero just comes up here to maybe try and help Sylar. They could just die. So this puts him in a really awkward and irritating 1v1 where he's just going to get hazed over and over.
This top lane is reminding me of yesterday. You know, the Brewmaster versus Razor break even. You look at the CS right now, Lycan is only beating KP by 3 last hits.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you think about using the Wolves because the haze isn't like the AoE, but you know, they cost a lot of mana. He's got 145 to cost, and only got a 400 mana pool. It's a tough life.
It sure is. DDC able to TP home. He survives from that onslaught, and now down bottom, they turn their sights onto Yang. It's an early repel. He does not have a TP for another 30. There will be a purification, but 3-on-1, not much the Omni Knight can do. They should be able to chase him down here. Splinter Blast comes, and a few more auto attacks from Mugi will secure the kill as the Dire Glyph comes out because, hey, that's a TA just solo pushing the mid lane all the while.
Yeah, it's still going to be plenty of damage before anyone can rotate back in here, though, and only level 3 and the Glimpse on cooldown for DDC means there's no way they can punish anything here from SCCC. And thinking about the Blink Dagger first this game, certainly the more common choice. It's very rare to see that Deso first like we had last game, but it was certainly the right call on that one. Didn't really need the Blink Dagger, had already taken all the towers. They just wanted to secure Roche and get a little bit more damage on those towers with like just a repelled TA kind of deal, but they erred.
Well, we often think of Desolator as a great fighting item because it has so much damage, but it's really a great pushing item because it buffs up the damage of the rest of your team by putting that debuff on the tower. So really not surprised to see him pick it up alongside a Chen, then switch up the build here in this game. Sylar does now have the Helm of the Dominator completed on Lycan, so this allows his jungling to accelerate even more. Big regen and grabbing those extra creeps just open up that farm potential.
Yeah, hard to go for a kill with the Hellbear, unfortunately. You know, if you have a Troll or maybe even just the Centaur, much better options. So it will indeed just be neutrals for him.
Fade up on the high ground. He might get sandwiched here, and Kaka going to come in. He's also level 5. Burrow Strike to start. The roll gets intercepted, and Fade will be locked on the high ground.
Go for the neutrals.
VG.J will not be able to support.
He's really confident in his abilities or something there. Didn't go for the denies. No, I can get out of here.
Yeah, it's a triple stack of Ancients there as well. He probably would have been denied by those Prowlers pretty darn quick. But now, as SCCC, he sees it's been scouted out, and he's just going to try to finish off this stack before it gets invaded. And, of course, that'll buff up his farm quite a bit.
KP still holding his ultimate. Sylar still holding his ultimate. It's kind of like a waiting game here. Maybe this is the play now, right? Faith here, Kaka here. Yep. Oh, tempting. Yeah, he goes for it. I love that. Right through the trees. There's only a split second to do it, and he opts for it.
And now the ultimate used by Lycan. There's no Winter's Curse to lock him down, but he's going to try to put a little bit of damage on KP. There is a Brew Split available, but opts not to use it, and the Wolf will just run into the jungle, stay safe, hits the Shrine, and we'll probably just go right back to farming.
That's perfect, though. They know that if you split, he's just going to run away. So to like force him to fight, try and do something, and once he realizes the split's not going to do anything, he just has to leave. They're just going to group push bot while you push top. Mugi throws down the call down, but it won't be enough, likely, with the next wave coming through, unless they want to full rotate everybody to the bot.
Yeah, nice little play from Yang there to heal the creep, so they just get some extra duration of pushing onto the tower. The Glyph comes out, but now Lycan's here, so he's got some wolves. He'll intercept this creep wave, and they will commit a little bit more to this tower push. All the while, mid SCCC tries to put pressure on this tower, but Yang will TP in and does have DDC nearby. The counter initiates. Sylar finishes off that tier 1 down bottom. Will Newbee be able to find this trade? There is a Dire Glyph, so maybe baiting this out. Kaka on the front lines, has a stun and a lot of stick charges available.
But trying to be careful with this glimpse.
Oh, there's the glimpse onto Mugi. Static Storm, Kinetic Field, and this Gyrocopter's in a lot of trouble. Earth Spirit comes rolling in, but Winter's Curse breaks up the fight. And Kaka gets a follow-up stun, but it goes the other way. He gets blown up. KP gets off the split, now putting damage onto Yang.
Yeah,
where's
a little
the
bit of a lack
of
communication there.
Yeah, one goes in, the rest of the team retreats. Omni Knight trying to stay in the front line, but I don't think they'll be able to kill this Brewmaster. Those Brewlings are pretty tanky at this stage of the game.
We've all been there. You know, you see a 3-man Burrow Strike, you really want to go for it. How can this be bad?
It was a great Winter's Curse, though. Completely broke up that fight, and without it, I think would have gone much worse for Newbee.
Yeah, but they do claw themselves back a little bit there from VG.J Thunder. Was about a 3K lead, and they hold that tower, although it is deniable. Tempting here from DDC soon.
Not in deny range quite yet.
Oh, yeah, not quite, is it?
It's close.
It looked low.
Close, but no cigar, Trent.
We're out of there.
Well, back to farming we go. The lead that Newbee had picked up is starting to dwindle just a little, some of that coming from towers, but with that said, they will smoke up and head into enemy territory. Yang breaks the smoke, heads to the high ground, and now they go for Fade, perhaps. They see him under the tower, not eager to dive that. Kind of an awkward rotation from Newbee, now deep in enemy territory, but not finding the opening they were looking for.
Getting some wards down, though.
That's true. Very aggressive wards. The plateau, and then right next to it, outside of that hard camp. Fade could still be in some trouble here. Kaka connects with the stun. The follow-up is inbound, but Shadow Fiend will TP in.
He has no help here, though.
Probably TPing into a sticky situation. There's the Winter's Curse. Will lock him down after the repel flies.
Whew.
Not going to be able to save the Earth Spirit, but they will save this tower, and now they glimpse back Faith. Nice cold embrace, buys him a little bit of time, but just sets up for some shadow raises. His team leaves him high and dry, 7-3. VG.J do make a defense at the tier 2.
Bit scary, but nothing else left in the tank there. So yeah, another defense there, pushing them on back, but still no real attention paid to SCCC. Has his Blink Dagger eyeing up into his Desolator.
And also, as that was happening, space created for Sylar. He finishes off that tier 1 tower mid, so again, opening up that Newbee jungle just a little bit and possibly making these rotations somewhat easier for VG.J Thunder. Up in the top lane, damage onto Yang and some counter damage onto Kaka, but both sides playing this game of chicken as they retreat and then counter initiate. TA drops the trap, and Omni pretty low on options, has a couple of stick charges and a GA, won't be able to use the ultimate, and it's another kill up for Moogie, who's now secured an unstoppable streak.
Yeah, what's the plan now, though? Do we want to just go mid, easily take that tower? Do we want to use this Brew Split right now? Are we eyeing up the Roche Pit? It feels like every time Newbee gets something, they kind of just like retreat back and they don't have like any sort of like a real plan with it.
Roshan could always be an option with the TA, as we've talked about. Blink Dagger's up and now pulling up gold towards the Desolator. Maybe one of the key items they're waiting for before they commit heavy into the pit.
Yeah, see the ping out now. So onto the tower. Kaka, though, still no Blink Dagger, so not a very wide range of initiation here.
Now Yang hoping for a deny after that glyph, but homing missile comes in. He sees how much Newbee commit to this, and will just head back. This is all 5 of Newbee now charging up the mid lane.
This looks familiar.
Yeah. Flashbacks to last game. VG.J Thunder, though, they are ready for this. Winter Wyvern flies over the tree line, jumps in, drops the ult onto Disruptor, and the follow-up is going to be there. DDC dies first,
nice.
Lycan dies shortly after. It's a quick twofer, and now the Brew Split wants to find another. Fade caught by the Cyclone. This will be the setup, and the follow-up is here. TA Trap comes down. Nice kick, decent repel from Yang, and Fade will actually be able to survive this. Nice support.
Yeah, perfect catch there, right? If they get the Sack Storm off onto KP, there's a chance they can just win that fight as VG.J Thunder. Pop the ulti from the Lycan, tons of damage, but they just get the curse right on top. Lycan helps them bring down DDC quicker, and then the fight is completely secured by then.
Yeah, I like how they're playing around this Winter Wyvern. Faith being the initiator there, using the Arctic Burn to get vision over the tree line. And now this TA is going to move into another Ancient stack inside of the Radiant jungle. Yeah. I think if that's pretty much any other 2 heroes there, VG.J Thunder can feel okay if the Lycan starts split pushing, but if Lycan is the one that dies, it hurts.
Yeah, they're going to go into the pit, though. They have the Shadow Blade here from Freeze, and they also have the Alpha Wolf.
Okay, a little risky. Radiant don't have much vision in this area, but they are pinging it out. Definitely suspicious that some trickery could be afoot.
I mean, Curse is back, but they're missing the split.
Okay, Wyvern a little bit low on mana, but does have some stick
They don't
charges.
see Kaka.
Roche relatively low on HP, but now the Winter's Curse comes. Lycan the target of choice, but he does survive through it. Still could be a fight for VG.J as the GA gets popped. Kaka on the run, but the roll across. Ice Cube will buy him a little bit of time, but the inevitable is done as Moogie on the backside now getting isolated. It's a buyback from Kaka. Newbee really want to defend this, but a double from Sylar. Beautiful stun from Kaka. Stops the big bad wolf as he heads to retreat and loses the shapeshift. Now KP on the backside, 30 seconds until ult. He's going to get glimpsed back right into the fray, but he has support, and Newbee will hold. Now the stun forward onto Yang. They could be turned again, and Kaka, it's a dieback on the Sand King. Gets off an epicenter, but it just tickles as VG.J Thunder win the fight and kill the Sand King twice.
A little bit of purification there. Purified raid, I would say, onto that bug. Dieback instant for him. But they stopped the Roche. So a little bit of momentum culled from the side of VG.J Thunder.
For now, Trent.
Hey, but now they have split 1 second.
But they don't have Winter's Curse this time. So not having both those ultimates makes this so hard to commit to. And with Lycan, Roche falls quickly. They will grab the Aegis onto Freeze. Initiation onto Faith. Glimpse, Static Storm. Nope, that's a kinetic field, my bad. But Faith still falls. I got a little too excited there, Trent. I got to rein myself in.
The Wyvern's not that important.
Ball from Moogie. KP jumps in. There's the Brew Split you were talking about. They're going in onto the Lycan. The Omni Knight gets isolated so that he can't heal, but Sylar still alive. SCCC jumps in and they bring him down. Freeze needs to be a little careful here, but remember, he does have the Aegis. DDC getting focused by the TA. Fade
Oh, nice
Beautiful
kick through.
stun on
Three heroes.
and that sets it up for Freeze to bring down Moogie. Now Kaka gets a stun on 3, sets it up the other way for SCCC, and they will find the Aegis. Another one of these chaotic fights, but it's Newbee that comes out big.
Look out.
Big damage on the
huge.
Yang. Another awesome stun from the Sand King, and it's going to be a full 5-man wipe and then some. A triple kill for the TA. As you mentioned, double damage, the perfect rune in that situation.
A wee bit fortunate, you might say. But I'd say the rundown was already complete at that point for Newbee. Looked like they were going to take that one. And you know, the only thing that could have gone wrong with that Aegis really was going too early, which they did, before all the cooldowns were back. They tried to play a bit aggressive, all for just a Wyvern as SCCC gets a little bit more out of that DD rune as he takes down DDC. But the only other thing is like you're like rotating around with the Shadow Blade and the SF. Maybe he loses the Aegis by himself or something, looking for solo kills. But yeah, we see what happened.
Yeah, we've got a replay here. It seems like all of these team fights are like this game of chicken where these teams are constantly backing out, reinitiating, counter-initiating. We'll see the awesome stun on 3, but just as that play happens, Kaka comes out of nowhere and finds a stun that goes the other way.
Yeah, and then right at the 18-minute mark, SCCC is like, oh, hey, oh, that's convenient. I think I will take that. So makes it easy to clean up there onto the SF and Yang right after.
Yeah, unfortunate for Freeze. Does find that kill on the Sand King as the fight ends up. You look at the goal graph overall, and it's still a lead for Newbee, but nothing insurmountable here, Trent. VG.J Thunder still very much in this game. Also, that Necro book level 3 going to be coming out, so always a shift of momentum.
Yeah, with the TA lineup, as well as the Lycan and SF kind of fits in the same camp too. So much of their game plan focuses around getting the Aegis and then doing stuff with it. You want to go into the structures using it. You want to have the Siege Engine hero that you want them to cast all their spells on to waste that Aegis. But that's gone for both lineups now, so it's going to be really awkward skirmishes.
Well, hello, Kaka. He's going to break the smoke from VG.J Thunder. It'll cost him his life, but doesn't look like they'll find any more than just a Sand King. Maybe now transition this into a tier 2 tower push.
Yeah, they get some vision down from Fade. He has some dust with him as well, just in case there's any shenanigans from SCCC. And another rune, this time going to be the Arcane. See if that's enough to just drive them back as they rotate through some of this vision that he's left in his wake.
Speaking of item progression, the Desolator's up on the TA and Moogie on the Gyro going for this standard boots, drums, BKB build. And he is about 100 gold away from the recipe of that magic immunity.
Feels like one of those games we're going to see in Aghanims after, honestly, you know, and just start heading into those later stages. I'm not sure how early this one's going to go. Mind you, Aghanims tends to be a little bit weaker up against Lycan, so we'll see, but that has certainly been the theme for us.
Well, certainly some merit to that build, though. We've talked about the Aghanims and then the follow-up Maelstrom into a Mjolnir, and then, of course, the Lifesteal, usually Satanic, that item of choice. We have seen those couple of games where that little bit of lifesteal from the side gunner has made a big difference.
Playing very deep here, so he gets stunned up by Kaka. There was a TP coming, but they did cancel it, so it looks like they just decided there was no hope there in terms of that kill. Yeah, or it might have got canceled as well, actually.
I want to ask you about this build from Yang. He's picked up early Guardian Greaves. That's not so surprising, but now right into the Aghanim Scepter as well. Maybe we'll hold that thought as Kaka initiated on by Sylar. The Repel going to keep him safe from the stun, and of course that Necrobook level 3 reveals the Sandstorm. So another easy kill for VG.J Thunder, and we'll back up once they see the glyph coming, as well as some defense from Newbee.
Yeah, they're not really sure where this Wyvern is, so you can see the separation there. Just don't bother putting yourself at risk, just use the summons. Nice play there from Sylar, experienced up against that counter, and it makes it look easy.
Absolutely. So Aghanim Scepter, kind of first big item after the Guardian Greaves on Omni Knight. What are you thinking?
Oh yeah, I can't stand the range of Guardian Angel. It's so small. You know, it's very difficult. If you don't have a Blink Dagger or a Force Staff or something, you're going to miss out on those clutch moments, especially up against a TA, right? She has this huge range of initiation, and then bam, huge explosion of damage. So if you you can be anywhere, right? You just pop this thing. Goes to a ridiculous duration of 10 seconds, which is a little broken. But you got to buy an Ags for it, so that's fine.
Well, and I guess on top of that, you've got an Earth Spirit and a Lycan, two very mobile heroes that tend to roll around a lot in fights. Yeah, it just takes a lot of pressure off this Omni Knight. He can stay very far back, very defensive, not get caught by the winner's curse, but still get off a key ultimate.
Yeah, definitely the way to go on this one.
Okay. Well, back to farming we go. A very close game, 16-11 at the 22-minute mark. VG.J Thunder hanging on despite a small farm deficit as they lose their tier 1 down bottom. SCCC getting credit for that one. putting the Desolator to good use. Now the Butterfly gets queued up by the Gyrocopter, so it doesn't look like it'll be that Aghanim Scepter game that we were thinking.
Yeah, this makes more sense, right? Just because like he has no defensive supports and he doesn't really have a nice jump in.
Smoke gets broken in the mid lane. They're going to go in onto the Disruptor. The call down gets queued, and Yang will be the one taking most of the damage, but Freeze gets the repel, tries to go in on the Mugi. That forces his BKB. Now the GA comes out to save Sylar, and VG.J Thunder are in full retreat. Shapeshift to try to make the run home. Yang going to be the one that gets left behind. Fade trying to save his healer. There will be a repel. Maybe this is enough. Does not stop you from the Desolator, but a stun on 2 will. Now Freeze on the backside looking for Mugi as Sylar reinitiates. That should be the end of the Gyrocopter. They've already lost faith, and now it's Freeze that's taking the damage. Another big stun from this Earth Spirit. They're lacking detection right now. They don't have it. They dust. SCCC gets obliterated. It's VG.J Thunder's fight. They were the ones that got initiated on, but they're going to turn it around.
It doesn't look like they can catch Kaka or KP. They should be able to escape here, but man, clutch plays there from Yang, getting off that Guardian's Angel during the Winter's Curse. And Sylar did not go down. There was no follow-up after that either, so he just backs up, comes back into the fight, and starts putting that damage. He was the vast majority of it there, too, with about 3,400 damage.
Yeah, that fight showing us why Gyrocopters are so reliant on BKB to be able to fight at this stage of the game. As soon as that BKB was down, Sylar wrapped around the backside, sandwiched the Gyrocopter, and there really wasn't much he could do to fend off the Big Bad Wolf and all of his sons.
Yeah, and all that control coming here from the supports there, too, so... Yeah, he's going to need those defensive options there on Mugi. The Butterfly, definitely a good choice. But in terms of like those defensive supports, I was mentioning, like, they have the Wyvern, who is a defensive support, yes, but obviously you can't put any damage out when you're stuck inside the Embrace. And they also don't build those items very often in terms of like a Solar Crest, you know? That can come from your offlaners, your supports, but they don't have any of that because KP has to look out for himself this game. He's gone for the Blink and the BKB. There's nothing else to help this Gyro or the TA, so they are self-reliant on their survival.
Yeah, a little surprised maybe to see KP go for the quick BKB. I guess afraid of the Disruptor. Static Storm does prevent that ultimate pretty effectively, so ensures you'll see a brew split pretty much every fight. Now a smoke from Newbee moving into enemy territory, but VG.J Thunder nowhere to be found. Going to be on the other side of the map, and it looks like they might be rendezvousing for a smoke of their own as Manta Style comes out on the Shadow Fiend after his Shadow Blade.
They need some wards placed down here from the Radiant side, but looks like the Dire side there, VG.J Thunder know exactly what Newbee were up to, and they don't put any observers down though, so they know they like make it obvious they did a full rotation through there, but don't drop anything, just worried about it getting picked up perhaps, so keep it to themselves.
Yeah, Sylar also very close to his BKB on the Lycan. A necessity, but also not the ideal game to go for BKB. Gyro and TA still do a huge amount of damage through it, and we can't forget about that Winter's Curse, one of the best ultimates to deal with spell immune heroes.
So that ward did catch a glimpse of both the Earth Spirit as well as the Disruptor, so they might know if they smoke right here, they're going to know that it was going on, and well, now they're all just running right through under the ward. So we're into a Roche game here, as it's going to be respawning in 1 minute.
Okay.
That's what everyone's up to, so...
Yeah, that tier 2 mid also getting destroyed. The power of the Lycan, you're able to win a team fight, then very quickly transition right into objectives.
You can also de-ward everything as he runs around the whole jungle with his Necro 3. They've already taken out a couple TA traps, some sentries, the Observer that was placed down in the mid lane, and that's why you look.
Yang, he is in a pretty awkward position. They'll deploy the Winter's Curse to find this kill. He tried the Repel TP rather, and this time it's not going to happen. Follow-up stun and no deny from the neutrals, those Centaurs, not willing to help him out as KP gets another.
Repel TV, I could go with that. A little bit of Omni preaching on a Sunday morning, you know. The omniscience. It'd be very angry in terms of like getting you motivated for the day, I feel like.
Some kind of millennial TV network. DDC sends the glimpse onto KP and actually forces out that BKB as they secure the kill. So 10-second charge down for KP, but worth it to punish that Disruptor for counter warding.
10 seconds doesn't matter that much on a Brewmaster. Other cores, you're like, man, is that really worth it? This guy, you're like, yeah, it's fine. That's partly why he bought it, I'm sure. Is that true. He does not care about the glimpse. He wants to make sure he can just run into these fights and create good opportunities for his teams without having to worry about the instant counter initiation from DDC. Yep. And into the pit we shall go. 10-second BKB ready for all SCCC, and is Deso helping to take this down fast.
Yeah, very unfortunate time for VG.J Thunder to lose two heroes like that. Just innocent pickoffs, I guess you could say. Omni thinking, Repel TP, I'm going to make it out good. Disruptor thinking, hey, they're committed to the other side of the map. I'll be able to get this ward, no problem. Those two little misplays now cost him Roche, and this is Roche 2, so Aegis and Shees will come down as SCCC grabs the second life, and no surprise to see Mugi on the Gyro, picking up the cheese for himself.
You see the like posturing from Newbee there, where they're just in this total triangle. They have like everything figured out there, the whole way around the pit, kind of just like, where are VG.J? Where do they go? But they were not there in time, so easy secure for Newbee.
Yeah, they took that time to continue farming. There's a Blink Dagger on Fade now, but also the Aghanims for Yang. So even though he did take assume some risk farming in the enemy territory, kind of worth it at this point to have the global GA.
All right, back on the aggression we go here with the Aegis in tow.
Yeah, smoke up from Newbee with SCCC leading the charge. Magic immunity ready, that minus armor, and his second life.
It's a nighttime fight, though, with Howl. Big deal for a Lycan squad.
But who will they find? Sylar, kind of in the trees here. He also has a BKB, so not the easiest target to lock down. The Troll Summoner going to kind of block Mugi there, but I doubt they noticed it. VG.J seem to be suspicious. They're just going to TP home. DDC gets caught in the tree line, though. Pops a glimpse, but he will be the one that gets left behind. Pretty minimal losses for VG.J Thunder, all things considered, given that was the first smoke after Roche.
Yeah, but with their net worth lead, they're just losing that control simply because of the Aegis and cheese being taken, so does not feel very good for the Dire side.
A lot of BKBs this game, Trent. Not surprising, right? We've seen the Chinese teams definitely prioritize magic immunity, maybe more so than the other regions, but once Shadow Fiend has his, that'll be 5 BKBs by just about the 30-minute mark.
Well, BKBs breed nullifiers, so SCCC eyeing that up as his next pickup. Can be a good choice for sure.
Mute, definitely a handy tool to have in your toolkit, as maybe this tier 2 tower mid could be the next victim of this Newbee onslaught.
They're matching their pace pretty quick in the top lane, though. I mean, Sylar's going to be there with his summons, but not going to matter, it looks like.
Yeah, not going to be able to trade that tier 2. Very weak, and now this tier 2 up top.
Ooh, they're not going to keep going, though. They're going to back up. I'm going to tease that high ground a little bit. Maybe Newbee a bit worried after last game, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Those recent memories of getting too aggressive too early, saying, guys, there's still some outer towers. Let's finish off these tier 2s. There's no reason to rush this. We've got control of the map right now.
Here comes the big smoke from VG.J Thunder, though. This is the, guys, remember that sick wraparound play? What if we did that again? What do you think? But the wave comes in, they have to clear that, and this is all going to depend on the aggression that comes in from Newbee. Will they kind of fall into that flanking trap once more?
Man, that's a quick nullifier out of SCCC. It looks like he had just queued it up a moment ago, and now he wants the Bloodthorn. Right. Of course, Orchid's going to come out first.
We're going to bait freeze, it looks like.
Going all aggression.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Uh-oh.
That's he's testing that thing out there. Whoops. Hey, at least they didn't see it, so they might think it's still up. But they can't fight. They're not going to take a battle without that thing.
Yeah, so they'll let that tier 2 tower fall in the bottom lane. That means one outer tower remains for each team, and that is in the top lane. So a relatively even spread there. And even though this TA is #1 on net worth, it's an even spread, Trent. This game has really never been a massive lead as both sides just continue to farm very effectively.
That kind of means we start looking at what the supports can get done, right? Those quick initiations, be the one to decide which one of your cores is going to come out on top. Will it be Fade jumping in with a big 3-man stun, silences, controlling them so that Freeze can hop in and obliterate them with big damage? Or is it going to be a curse? Will Fate decide the battle?
Sylar, he gets muted, but does manage to get off the ultimate. Shapeshift to run away. The GA comes to ensure that he survives. Epicenter used, but does very little. So a couple ultimates deployed, but a failed gank attempt for Newbee.
Yeah, they might try and set something up here if they're a little greedy on Conquer. Yeah, they're going. Freeze wants it.
Sets it up. There's the Requiem follow-up roll, but Ice Cube, and now the winner's curse. Fade's the one that gets turned on as Shadow Fiend lays into him. Newbee strike right back. They still lose Kaka, but well worth it to grab 2 on the side of VG.J.
It's like you saw them use a bunch of spells. It didn't kill your Lycans. You want to get a kill for yourself, but again, it's just a Sand King. I don't know. A very risky play with a pretty small reward, and they get the reward, but the full risk was realized as they both go down.
Both teams have so much initiation and then counter-initiation trend. I guess that's part of why these team fights have felt a little bit wonky, with both sides constantly initiating, then retreating, then looking to reinitiate once the other team overextends. So many ways to reset the fights, and now we're seeing more and more nullifiers queued up. Yeah. So playing into that concept even more. Who gets the catch first?
Yeah, honestly looking towards Faith to be one of the next big ones in terms of getting a blink dagger. He has the Aether Lens, which is why he was able to save Kaka from that moment there with a very long range on the Embrace. But if he can get that big range on the blink and then the Winner's Curse, he should be able to kind of ruin Sylar's game.
Smart play from Newbee to try to pressure the high ground. They do force out a glyph, seeing if maybe they'll overreact, pop a buyback, but none available. And Shadow Fiend will just respawn. Minimal damage done to the tower. Back to friendly territory we go. Also want to point out that Winter Wyvern talent, level 15, 500 night vision. Actually pretty good for this team when you're up against the Lycan.
Yeah, exactly, because they're going to want to be fighting at nighttime, ideally for VG.J Thunder. So you want all the vision you can get in that case. And 350 health is definitely...
It's definitely a talent that gets passed over a lot, but in this game it feels like the right choice, huh?
Yep, I'm all in on that.
Okay, so back to farming we go. TA continuing to find the edge in terms of farm, has just about enough gold for the Orchid and Bloodthorn, a very scary item in the hands of this hero. If you can catch somebody out with it, big time damage. The Bloodthorn Nullifier is just the perfect combo. It's how you can role play as the Doombringer, right?
That's right. It's like they're not getting a lot of opportunities to use these items though. Every one of the smokes instantly pulled back by the enemy team, kind of going both ways here. Both teams want to fight, but they want it on their terms.
Will they find the opening? Lycan was pushing out in the bottom lane, but just TP's back to the base. VG.J Thunder all turtled up. They're going to pop the Wolves. Look for a little bit of visual intel. Newbee got to be disappointed with this smoke here. They do have a gem on the Brewmaster right now, so doing a good job controlling vision. You look at the dire wards and, well, they basically have none. So they are venturing into potentially treacherous territory here. There is a Radiant ward that's down, so Newbee see this movement.
Yeah, they have a gem on the Omni, though.
Oh, yeah, okay. Gem on each side.
Yeah, so we had to go back for that one, and they already saw this one, so it goes down. A little bit worried about a quick wrap from Newbee, so they drop Sentry, but they're out of there.
All right.
I like that from Fade, rolling up there to break the tree, put one of those wards that's very good up against the gem, so at least some control of vision over this area.
Both sides being very cautious here, making sure to stay within an arm's length from one another, realizing how easy it is to get caught out. And it's creating this like kind of stalemate, almost game of chicken effect, where both teams are looking at each other with wards and gems, saying, "Ha-ha, you've lost vision, and I will now farm."
Yeah, and you know, for old Freeze here, he bought that Shadow Blade, felt like he never even got to use it.
Yeah, I mean, he's used it almost defensively. We've seen a couple times where it's allowed him to get away, but yeah, definitely one of those games where
so much five-man totem. Kaka just goes in.
3 stun from Kaka. Now the follow-up, BKB from KP. They jump in onto the Earth Spirit, but there's the GA. They're going to try to focus down the Omni, but the Winner's Curse just comes down a little too late. Sylar having trouble sticking onto a target, but now he's found him. Static Storm, Kinetic Field, Mugi, Kaka down, and SCCC in trouble. He'll get blown up, and it's Newbee that are in big trouble. Faith trying to TP, that won't happen, and now the Brew Split will expire, and KP, the last survivor of Newbee, will limp away to the top lane, but the Glimpse will ensure the kill. This is going to be a full 5-man wipe for VG.J Thunder.
Well, they tried and tried. They hunted for the perfect fight, and, well, did they get impatient again? Because Kaka hopped on in there. It sure did look good. Big Burrow Strike to start, but not enough follow-up right away.
We'll see if
I see a BKB on a Gyrocopter. I see a Cheese on a Gyrocopter. Not a good sign.
Yes, both of them off cooldown, so that's never a good thing. You're right. It seemed like that GA was just perfectly timed, though. Faith wanted to get that counter initiation. He used the Winner's Curse on Omni Knight, but the GA had already come out, so the damage was done, and that's what allowed VG.J to turn this. Lycan has a double damage rune on now. They kill the Tier 3 tower. The Glyph's already been used. 2 buybacks have been burned by Newbee, but it will not be enough to save this mid lane of Barracks. VG.J Thunder want more. They force a third buyback, but another beautiful stun from Kaka on 3. BKB from Freeze pop. Lycan, now the Winner's Curse comes. It's going to lock him down, but very minimal damage. He pops his own BKB, and he wants to fight.
He does so much
hits
damage.
Hard. SCCC dies through the BKB. It's a dieback on the TA, and now Mugi could be in trouble himself. Sylar getting low, but he's able to run back to safety. Still finding a kill on Kaka with all of his summons. This is so bad for Newbee. They'll hold on in the bottom lane, but now they're getting pulled pretty far out of the base.
DDC's still behind with the
DDC's around
Static
the backside. He's got the ultimate, but he also has a gem. He glimpses back Mugi, and he survives. It's going to cost Mugi his life, and now a triple kill for Sylar.
DDC with the backstab, the assassin on the disruptor. Now KP comes back in for the gem. He's going to be found out here. Here's the BKB.
Oh my, KP does have the primal split. Buybacks from VG.J Thunder. The call is to go all in and try to finish this off.
They've got creeps in the middle.
It's a 5v2. There's no backdoor protection, no glyph. Newbee are about to take big, big damage, and they're going to catch one. They find the Sand King. This could be the dieback from Kaka, but no, he's got the mobility, and he scoots to the high ground.
I can't get too distracted here. There are buildings to be taken.
Brew split. They're going to destroy the Fire Panda. Now the Storm Panda goes down, and it's just a little baby Earth Panda.
How about those
They're going
buildings?
for tier 4s, baby. They are all in, Trent.
Howl popping as well. The damage to Kaka being driven back. I don't think they can stop this.
There's the stun onto Fade, and this is the Lycan effect right now. He has no BKB, but he's got to repel. There are no buybacks. TA up soon, but the GA for good measure. It's VG.J Thunder that take it. What an upset. 2-0 over Newbee, a series we thought might go to the stretch, a series where Newbee were the favorites. And it's VG.J that secure themselves a seat in the grand finals.
We're going to have ourselves a different grand finalist. Someone who has not been to a major grand final. Well, they were at one that was supposed to be, but here they come. The crowd loves it.
And you can see the excitement. VG.J know what has happened here, how epic of a win that was, and just how quickly that game fell apart for Newbee. They looked so good, Trent, but that one team wipe in the dire jungle was enough to turn the game around.
It's been the talk for a while now, hasn't it? It's the idea of how many fights do you need to win with this lineup to just clean up that game, and well, it was one. It was one long fight. It started somewhere over the dire side of the map, and it ended at the throne. But VG.J were certainly the victors of that one.
Wow, looking at that goal graph, it was a small advantage, 5-6K for Newbee, and then it's just a downward spiral. Team wipe, buybacks, wiped again, and then straight for the tier 4s. You can never sleep on the Lycanthrope, Trent.
Sylar the Wolfman, especially the Sylar Lycan, right? I mean, this is one of his heroes. Came prepared for it today. You had to know they were going to bring it out. They certainly did.
Absolutely.
Took them to victory. So what do you think those guys think about it?
I don't know. We're going to find out. All I know is DDC played Disruptor 2 games in a row, and that's 2 victories, baby. Paul, we're taking it back to you.
The DDC fan club out in full effect on the caster desk. Thank you, Zyori and Trent. Fantastic victory for VG.J Thunder. We've just about got our breath back on the panel right now. Cap, we pulled them out as the dark horses at the start of this tournament, and they've made a run all the way through that's taken them to the grand final. It's been terrific.
Yeah, I said that if they managed to beat Newbee here, then that's a successful dark horse. They managed to make their run into the playoffs. They beat one of their biggest rivals and continue a wall in front of all of these Chinese teams. They managed to take down Newbee. Now they're in the grand finals.
It's incredible. Jack, what do the Chinese scene make of this?
Well, funny you ask. I've got the Chinese stream on right now.
He's got
going
Panda
across
TV
the screen
ready to
is all basically a class dismissed, basically. So they let the Sylar Lycan through, but I think if class is dismissed, I think DDC is the instructor this time. I mean, just putting on, this is a big change that they made. They've 23-4 since DDC joined this roster. Yeah. You saw his impact in both these games. The Disruptor, we knew was going to be a key coming into this series. Crucial ults again and again at just the right times, just securing his team, basically the game, one team fight after another. So I think DDC, well, its value's been proven through this series at least.
We'll take a look back at the highlights in just a moment. In a way, Cap, this is another game that maybe Newbee should have won.
Yeah, I would agree. I still kind of stand by Newbee having the better draft here. I thought, like, I've heard back and forth behind the scenes, the Gyrocopter versus the Lycan matchup. We've obviously heard long ago in Genting how some of the Western scene thought, oh, this Lycan is quite good versus the Gyrocopter because you can lay in this single target damage. I thought Hero was actually working relatively well for Newbee. The Templar Assassin matchup against the SF was going fine once again. And then their adjustments where they had these big team fight heroes, even coming out of their 5 position with the Winter Wyvern actually was working very well. But the problem is you had to keep that vigilance, and just one team fight, honestly, where they kind of whiffed the D-Spell and the Guardian Angel. They didn't get the best nullifier in as well. They just lose that one fight pretty hard, and the game's over.
In a way, I guess you're not surprised because you probably have insider information, Jack, on just how well these guys have been playing since DDC came into the team. But try and explain to us, the public, what impact he's made on this team.
So in terms of, Io, they felt he's a good spellcaster, pretty solid player with a lot of potential. But just in terms of big game experience, you need someone you want someone who's more steady, who's been there, who's performed consistently. In terms of securing his lane farm for his carries and for his cores, DDC knows exactly what he's doing. In terms of dealing with vision, taking out enemy wards, you saw a couple times. Newbee seldom had that much vision on their side of the map. They got dewarded even on their own side by the shrine. So DDC, being the experienced player that he is, does all of these things with no drop off, little to no drop off in spell casting as well out of that 5 position. You just see the team fight impact that he has. And for Newbee's lineup, again, I want to credit VG.J here because Newbee's lineup is very good at winning the team fight in that first burst, or basically routing the opponent. You're talking about Winter Wyvern ult, setting up other big ultimates like from Brewmaster, Sand King as well. But once that first round of spells is down, if they aren't able to deal critical damage to Thunder, then you see the Lycan being able to run back in, a little bit of sustain coming out, DDC able to punish a fleeing hero, and Freeze as well staying alive and kind of just dropping those nukes. So once the fight gets to the second round of spells, then Thunder are able to get a bit of an advantage, and you saw that consistently throughout this game. This was still a really close game, but that's what it came down to in the end.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It just all comes down to your initiation. I think the Newbee a couple times did kind of bungle their initiation a bit, and just any kind of small opening, I think VG.J Thunder are incredibly good at being able to punish that. There were so many times where the Newbee team stepped ahead of themselves when it came to initiation of some sort, both in Game 1 and Game 2, and VG.J were quick to be able to punish it. There's a great example, I think, probably coming up where they just try and initiate with the Gyrocopter and the Sand King, and they don't get that good hard initiation. They don't get that good hold on these heroes. Newbee and, VG.J end up kind of backing all the way back to the river and then re-engage as soon as they see Gyrocopter use his BKB. It's now down. They've already tried to use some of their abilities to lock us down. Those are on cooldown. Let's go back in, and they punish the hell out of Newbee in one of those fights. So I think that is actually kind of the theme that I'm picking up here from VG.J Thunder, is their continual read of team fights, and this is the one right here. Yep. They had already chased maybe a little bit past the tier 2, past this river line. VG.J Thunder were on the retreat for sure, and then they saw that opportunity to turn. Yeah,
one thing that kept Newbee in this game as well was excellent control over Roshan. That's one of those things that TA helps to give you as well, with the trap vision in there. And that, and they had a cheese or Aegis to fight with most of the time. But this fight, and then the one coming up a little bit later, again, Gyro and TA are these heroes that you expose your positioning once you commit to the fight, and it's very hard for them to disengage if the fight is not a rout. The TA's defenses quickly come down. The Gyro isn't able to keep standing his ground, and they were able to take advantage of that every time.
This TA was better this time.
Yeah, it certainly was. I think the Templar Assassin performs very well against the Necronomicon pickup of the Lycanthrope, because every single time he's got his refraction just to be able to focus down the Necronomicon melee unit. Now we saw in that last fight, his refraction died right as he went for it.
That's the ult of the game.
Yeah,
right now.
That was actually the failed Dispel there on the Guardian Angel, and on top of that, I think they used the Nullifier on the Earth Spirit, but then a successful GA goes down, and if they can't dispel that GA, then your initiation goes kaput, and as Jack was saying, it's all about the initiation and that first burst of damage for Newbee in these fights.
Even at this point, just before this fight, Newbee were ahead. They had control. They lost it there, and it just continued. I think Trent said in the commentary, the fight started somewhere in the mid area. It just carried on until they got to win the game, basically.
Yeah, I think once you're forcing those many buybacks, especially against this team, which I would favor later into the game, once the Lycan starts becoming more of a single target damage dealer with his right clicks, where he picks up the AC and Abyssal and those kind of items, then I really think he starts taking over the game as well as the SF. So once you have like that kind of team fight, I thought it was over. You force those buybacks, and then you get into another nasty engagement, and the game actually ends rather abruptly.
And there you see how excited Fade was there. We talked about the Fade Kaka matchup going into this game. Kaka again showed his stuff. He did probably get impatient a few times. Maybe forced a few reinitiations or reengages that weren't good. But Fade again, he had to kite throughout the fight. He had to try to disrupt the backline with the spells. He also had to initiate or catch at different points, and you could see that's why he's an Earth Spirit specialist. He played very well once again.
Yeah, he got multi-hero stuns off of those kicks. I think Fade's Earth Spirit definitely deserves a special mention.
Okay, let's take a look at the scoreboard and show you how things shook out in game number 2. It was a clean sweep for VG.J Thunder. It doesn't read particularly nicely if you're a Newbee fan at the top of the screen, although it looks fairly even as far as the scoreboard is concerned. I don't think that tells necessarily the entire story. 9, 2, and 10 for Sylar, though, topping out on the scoreboard. MVP?
It's hard for us to just ignore the emotional component of those huge fight-turning ults from DDC.
Yeah.
So it's hard to argue against that. But I think again, Fade overall played a very solid game. Again, a lesser Earth Spirit player would have. He would have probably died a lot more, found a lot harder, smaller margins in which to re-engage. He was able to find those each time. So I think he's a pretty good runner-up, if not the MVP here.
Okay, yeah, so DDC for MVP, but Fade a close second.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then I want to give like a 3-4 mention to, again, the 1 and 2 position of VG.J Thunder. I think that both Siler and Freeze understood, just like in Game 1, that they're always able to fall back on their jungle. I think that's the big advantage of being able to run this Lycan and this Luna, is that you don't have to have that solid laning phase guaranteed. You can always fall back and be able to play out your jungle, unlike these Gyrocopter carries where they kind of have to have a strong laning phase and feel that pressure of always trying to force these fights and get these kills.
A few final words for Newbee, because they are done. Again, I guess they look at this a bit like Secret will look back and think, that's a disappointing tournament. We should have got more out of this. They've got some points on the board, admittedly, but it's not enough for a team of this caliber, is it?
Yeah, again, it feels like, just as soon as they get the monkey off their back beating Liquid in the final, they'll have to prove it once again. But some encouraging signs. Again, I think Kaka played extremely well. I think they showed a lot of flexibility in this final series. They really went their own way with finding these answers. That's something that will always serve them well going forward. So positive signs for them to take away. They could just say they ran into the hot team or the team of the tournament at this point.
Yeah, could be. I also want to finish with you, Kat, in terms of DPC points, because VG.J Thunder now get a minimum from this, bearing in mind you only count the top 3, of nearly 1,500 points, which puts them in 6th place on the DPC list from 18th.
Yeah, we've now got Newbee, VG Gaming, and VG.J Thunder all right next to each other in those rankings. That is like the second tier where they aren't guaranteed those points, not even in some of the estimates that like Nahaz was giving around that 3K marker. They still need to make another decent stretch here. So but
it's a great jump for VG.J Thunder now, isn't it?
It is a huge jump, yeah, absolutely. VG.J Thunder in just one tournament. That's what we've been saying here, right?
Can have one really big result in a big tournament.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, what we talked about yesterday. Again, that's why it's wide open as the season kind of ramps up towards TI. You have these majors now, more majors down the road, where one good showing can really put you in contention.
Okay, yeah, it gets more exciting, doesn't it? With every game, every single game counts as we get closer and closer to the international. Right now, though, focus on the Bucharest major, because DDC right now is with Sir Action.